just the dust settling. Little over 24 hours later, we got the visual of him walking out of a courthouse yesterday.
It just felt bizarre, man. It really did. The whole story was bizarre. And then
Yes.
seeing him and then like knowing where he was 24 hours prior.
Smiling in the post-game press conference, talking about letting the chips fall where they may.
Well, we don't know him. I've never interacted with him, never. But like we know people that are around him and that work with him. And so I weirdly thought of those people when I looked at that video of him walking out with his daughter and wife. And like we don't know where this is going to go. There's been some people to point out like it's a big production of a press conference by the FBI and how many people were listed versus what we kind of expected and where is this all going to go? I don't know. I know that it's over in Portland for him. But I honestly looked at that video and I thought of, and I won't name names, but I thought of friends of our show that work for that team that interact with him on a daily basis. That
your practice every day,
interview
covering the
him,
team.
just how bizarre that must have felt for all of them. Even the general manager.
Yes.
Unless he knew and he just went, oh, crap, dude.
Damn it. They
he
got
caught.
Yeah.
It had to have been the most bizarre feeling ever for everybody connected around him.
Yeah.
Given how he's been publicly, right? Like, say what you want about the coaching and the past. Like, when he does interviews, he's just like, got to be accountable. Got to be responsible. Got to handle yourself like an adult. Just preach, 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 preach. Mafioso?
Right.
Man.
Completely out of left field. You asked the question in the last segment of what conversation was Joe Cronin having with his wife on his drive home from a 17-hour day probably at the facility.
Or what are you thinking getting home yesterday finally?
You asked, would your mind go to the place of this could be it for me? Is my future in jeopardy? And absolutely. I already would have been asking that question myself if I were him, considering the ownership change and what Tom Dundon's history has been. Of like, man, you got to do something this year to prove that you're heading in the right direction. If you don't have a good year and you win 30 to 32 games and there's not a lot that you can hang your hat on, why are you going to continue to be the general manager when you're going into year 6 without a play-in appearance and the new owner is taking over? Like, he wouldn't have had any of those fears had Jody not sold the team yet because she just gave him an extension. But I absolutely think that, especially now, everybody inside that front office, everybody up in the higher levels of management for the Portland Trailblazers is looking in the mirror saying, uh-oh. Because I do think we don't know how the legal process is going to play out. Maybe we're all shocked and he's found innocent, and oh my God, what a, wrongfully accused Chauncey Billups. His name is cleared.
Well, this
FBI
nothing to do
situation,
if he's innocent and he's
it's
they
a
don't
horrible
have
black eye on the FBI
My
if that
God,
happens.
dude, what a joke.
No doubt about it. But I also think the other thing that I kept going back to yesterday, and this is going to happen when news stories like this break. There was a radio host in Boston, and a segment that he did over a year, or not quite over a year ago because the season just started, but last year during the season went viral because he was on the Sports Hub in Boston talking about the Celtics-Blazers game and how the Celtics won the game by 10. You know what the line in the game was? 9.5. You know what the scenario at the end of the game was? Portland was down by 8 with 4 seconds to go in the game. You know what they did in the last 4 seconds?
I'm going to guess, Andrew, you're going to tell me they fouled.
Twice, because they weren't over the limit yet. Fouled twice in the last 4 seconds of the game, down by 8. Is that a normal situation to foul in?
With 4 seconds down 8? No.
No, the game's over. You can't score 9 points in 4 seconds. It's mathematically impossible. The game is over. He fouled twice. Guess what happened? The Celtics made both free throws. Guess who covered the spread?
The Celtics.
So all of that kind of stuff is going to get drug up. Now, is that
all of it did yesterday.
Right, and all of the different things of like, why did Denny Avdia not play in the last 5 minutes of this game? Why did this guy not come back in this game? Why was this rotation the way that it was? Part of that reality is they have been tanking. They just couldn't openly admit it for a number of years now. And so you look back at stuff and it's like, well, why didn't certain guys play? It's because they were purposely trying to lose games. They just couldn't say that out loud because the NBA frowns upon that kind of thing. But I kept going back to yesterday, if this ends up being proven right, and if he is found guilty, and there's the smoking guns and the evidence and the text messages that they're alleging in the indictment that they released yesterday, the first question that I would have if I were Tom Dundon is, how the hell did nobody else know about this? If there is a poker podcast from 2 years ago highlighting how Chauncey Billups was at a poker game in 2019 scamming people out of money, that is on the internet. There was a Reddit post 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. We just gave this guy a contract extension after winning 36 games. How did none of you know, and how can I trust any of you?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm saying, though, is we said that out loud, right? Like, they should probably know that exists, and then how do you not vet that? But we know from their past of vetting Chauncey Billups, That's proprietary, Sean.
It's proprietary.
So, like, I the trust is gone. And look, I lean a little more pessimistic. People would probably say, I like to think it's realistic, but it's probably more pessimistic in my own personal life. I would have absolutely gone home yesterday and say, I'm going to lose my job.
I'm out of a job.
And
There's
you
no
can
chance.
say Dundon's going to get hired. Like, I heard this a lot yesterday, and it's very fair. Dundon's history says he comes in and he restarts and cleans. I don't know if I would have told you I'm that confident that happens, even with a new owner, because I think they were so impressive in the first game, despite losing.
Yeah.
That there would have been like, if this is who they're going to be on almost an every night basis.
You win 40 games, you're entertaining night in and night out, you play hard, you're not cleaning house
Dundon
after that.
would probably take a calendar year and say, let's go one more and we'll see where we go. And if you disappoint, well, then it's going to, like, I would have thought internally as the general manager before finding out my head coach got arrested by the FBI, I would have probably gone home and been like, we've put together a good team. I'm glad these guys are playing how I hope they'd play. And you know, a couple shots didn't go our way. We lost to a good Wolves team. That's all I would have thought. And then your coach is arrested, and the natural inclination has to be, I mean, again, maybe I'm just too pessimistic, has to be like, I'm going to get fired.
Yes, I'm associated with this guy. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm tied to this guy.
Well, but you're also part of the organization that did not vet and fans found that video, by the way. Like, that's why there's no excuse for the organization is fans found the video. If people cruising the internet for an hour can find a video of a guy saying Chauncey has scammed people in a poker game in 2019,
cheating,
it makes you as a billion-dollar entity look incredibly inept.
Yes.
So I couldn't help but think of all of this stuff yesterday. And then I heard, and I talked with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, that he lives in Europe, and he's a big basketball guy. And he was at a EuroLeague game yesterday, and he sent me a photo of the EuroLeague game. And he told me, despite everything going on, I actually think you guys have a really good interim coach. And Thiago Splitter. Now, everybody's going to tell you the most obvious thing that everybody else has already said. You know, Thiago Splitter credited with Shangoon's development. That's cool. I think it was like 1 year, but okay. It's actually the European stuff that should be highlighted for Splitter. He took over an institution that lost a good head coach, and they won the title last year. So, like, Thiago Splitter's reputation in Europe, very, very complimentary of, like, he's actually a really good leader. He's a good developer. This is a good thing for the team. We'll see if it actually proves to be true. But that was, like, the only encouraging news I heard from this stuff yesterday was my buddy in Europe who follows EuroLeague basketball was at a game yesterday. He's like, Splitter's a really good coach. He's like a really, really good coach. And Bjorkgren saying, I want to stay the lead assistant, that's best for everybody. And Splitter being the coach was like the only positives of the whole situation I took from yesterday.
It is so interesting because it's a moment in time we will always look back for the Blazers as like a before and after day. And some people are even arguing in the NBA and with sports betting that you look at it before and after. If this stuff ends up being proven, where he was alleged as co-conspirator number 8 to sending text messages, a game where Dame and Nurkic weren't going to play prior to them being announced out when the Blazers were tanking. And Dame, remember at the time, was very frustrated with that. Dame didn't want to tank at the end of the year, and they made him sit out games. He did what was best for the organization long term, and then they still ended up drafting 2 guards and trying to move on from him. But it will be remembered as that kind of day, and it also just makes you look so incompetent as an organization, so incompetent that this kind of stuff could happen if it, again, is end up proving true, of how you didn't do your due diligence and understand something that fans could have found on Reddit 2 years ago. And that wasn't a search that you did. You didn't hire a private investigator. You didn't hire somebody just to dig into. Is there anything
they said they did when they hired him.
Right, and they clearly didn't because he was buddies with Neil O'Shea. Yeah. And this is what happens when somebody like Jody Allen owns a team. There's no control, there's no oversight, there's no direction, and you just end up looking like a bunch of idiots.
Well, because most owners aren't allowing... Most owners that have general managers are going to trust the general manager to make a good choice.
Yes.
They allowed him internally, Neil O'Shea, to run the franchise.
Do whatever the hell he wanted.
Basically the owner.
Yes, and then you get the water bottle moment of that's proprietary, we're not going to get into that. And it's like, that's how it all started. And then this group, without Neil O'Shea, gave him a contract extension despite some of this stuff being available online 2 years ago. And it makes you look incredibly incompetent in a moment as an organization where, ironically, it's the first time that a lot of people kind of came together after opening night and said, you know what, that was fun. Are we heading in the right? Is this positive direction? Are we making momentum?
I still think the team,
And maybe that's still there for a lot of people. I also just don't know what the hell. Tonight is one of the weirdest games in the history of the franchise, and I don't know what to expect from them. If they lose by 30 or win by 30, I'm not surprised either way.
I really want to put on the glasses to see the cards, and I want to wear the earpiece that nobody can see in your ear that's telling you what cards are.
This guy's got king. This guy's got king. Fold here, make him feel good. Fold, build up.
See the guy that lost $1.8 million.
That's the other part of this I saw a lot of people saying is out of everybody's talking about the shock, the Billups stuff, what does this mean for the NBA? Very few people are talking about all the guys or gals who got catfished into losing millions of dollars. People lost a lot of money in this stuff, man. And they're kind of the forgotten storyline of that was my life savings. I just thought I was going to go play with Chauncey Billups, and he took me out of money.
We only got the one example.
Allegedly.
If he ends up being true, we better get more than one, because if he did all of this for $50K,
yeah, it just makes you even look even dumber. Of how did you end up in that spot? There's more follow-ups there, but the dust is settled. They will play a game tonight. What will it look like? Your guess is as good as mine, but I can't wait to tune it in and watch.
Would you say the dust is settled? Because I'd say they're playing through the dust, because I think as long as
still dust in the stadium,
as long as the case exists, it's all kind of like background noise.
Last thought, by the way, and then we'll go. I didn't see the open of the game. Did they have fireworks in the arena? Because I turned the game on 2 minutes into the fourth quarter.
No, they do
quarter.
the fire flame, and then
it
the
looked
smoke.
super smoky when that game started.
Yeah, a lot of teams do that.
Okay, I was like, what's going on in the arena right now? Maybe it was their Grateful Dead night.